Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Sean Ferrer, and this is the next edition of the Culturally Woke Republican. I'm sorry that I haven't been on YouTube in a little bit. I work 2 jobs now. Sorry. Raise a kid. It's kind of hard to, gather everything and put it all into a show, but I got a good one for you today. So, without further ado, let's just dive right in, because I think that there are several things right now that are going on that we definitely need to dive right in. Okay, the first thing I want to dive right in is a 13-year-old in Chicago was running around at 3 a.m. carrying a real handgun, and he's shooting bullets, I don't know what direction, in the air, at fences, whatever. Okay, he's also with a 21-year-old assailant. Okay, because the reason why I call him assailant is because they haven't caught him yet. The first thing I want to get to is the idea that where are this kid's parents? Now, the mother has come forward and stated that, he was witty, he liked Taco Bell, he liked, all these kind of things. Okay, that's all fine and good. Okay, why is it that your son is 13 years old and running around on the streets of Chicago, which, first of all, is not a really savory place at night, seeing how all the shootings that happen there constantly. Okay, but he's also running around with a 21-year-old male shooting a gun. Like, this is something that, I'm a parent, okay? My 14-year-old son, if it's dark, and I don't live in a horribly bad neighborhood, but if it's dark, that kid's not even allowed to go off the porch. What would a kid be doing at 3 o'clock in the morning hanging out with basically a gangbanger? Because it turns out, from the facts that are coming out and coming forward now, that this kid has actually been introduced into a gang, and they even gave him a nickname, Little Diablo, or Little Murderer. All I keep thinking to myself is, seriously? And the mother has already come out, on public record, and stated he wanted to become a police officer when he got older. Something tells me something went seriously wrong. Now, there's also reports. By the way, I do need to say his name. His name is Adam Toledo. I'm assuming that, Toledo kind of tells me he's Spanish descent. I'm half Puerto Rican myself with the last name Ferrer, so I'm assuming. Okay, but you know what they say about assumptions. One thing that bothers me about this whole entire situation is the idea that it's come out in report that he actually ran away or disappeared several days before that, and she didn't report it. Is this accepted? Is this something that we're willing to accept? That our children just disappear, and then we're just yeah, we live here, so, you never know what he's doing. No. That's not how parenting works. That's not how you raise children. I know the glasses are, giving you guys, a screenshot of my phone. But what I am going to say is, once again, where's the parenting? Where's the responsibility? I always like to tell people, you never know what you can handle until you absolutely have to. And that is actually a very proven statement. I know I shouldn't smoke on my podcast, but guess what? It's my channel, it's my podcast, and if you're... I'm sorry, guys, I've been having some problems with storage on my phone. I just had to delete a whole bunch of stuff. But, back to what I was saying. Okay, I believe Ginsburg was, into feminism and women's rights, and I have no problem with that. I actually believe that if you can perform the same profession that I do as a woman, you should make my salary, if not more. Okay, and that's the way I deal with it. Okay, but, the narrative that the Democrats are trying to push here is they're basically trying to assimilate our election process. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get more votes, add a few electoral college votes, things of that nature. Okay, so, I mean, basically, I mean, if you don't understand this stuff, here's what I suggest. Okay, go drink 3 beers and reevaluate yourself. If you're not looking at any of this stuff, you know, in the country, and you're not paying attention to any of this, yeah, you need to figure it out, okay? Because it's not working out well. So, where we go from here, I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, it's a slippery slope at this point. I hate to use that expression, but it is. I mean, you know, where are we going? Are we going to literally embrace all of these narratives and legislation and things of that nature from the left and be squishy Republicans? Or are we going to be tough and fight back against legislation as well as culture? We can't allow the culture to die. Here's what I mean by that. Okay, if you go to just about any predominant university, okay, the leftist regime is all over the. Now, I do give credit to YAF, which is Young Americans for Freedom. They're a conservative group. They're usually on just about every single college campus. If there isn't a chapter there, if you're in college, start one. You can get in contact with them, do internet or, you know, any type of media, and you can start one. And, you know, people like myself, Ben Shapiro, Michael Knowles, Matt Walsh, Andrew Klavan, I mean, these are the people that can come and talk to you and basically preach conservative values. Okay, I would be honored, personally. As you can see, I'm a contract painter. Nobody's special. I just understand a lot more than a lot of other people. Anyway, let's get on to our third fact. Rioters now, because of the Chauvin case, and then there's also, you know, I told you about the horrible death of the 13-year-old, and then there was another gentleman, another black gentleman that was wanted for a warrant. Unfortunately, you know what I mean, the police officer, which is a woman, she thought that she was pulling her taser. Instead, she pulled her handgun. She shot him once, which, I mean, in the video, if you watch the body cam footage, I mean, you can see that she really, like, she messed up. Okay, do I believe that she should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law? Yes. You're a police officer, you're a 26-year veteran, you're training another officer, and you don't realize that your taser is on the other hip. There's something wrong there. Sorry. You do not deserve to be in law enforcement. A man lost his life due to your hands. It could be involuntary manslaughter. You know what? I don't care. You deserve to reap the consequences of your actions. Okay? But what I wanted to get to is, now that all the riots are happening again, go figure, okay, rioters with soup cans saying it's food for my family at a riot. Okay, there's actually been reporters that have interviewed rioters, okay, and they have a can of soup in their hand. Now, this goes way back to when Trump, now mind you, I always say, I voted for Trump. I'm not a Trumper. I'm a Republican conservative. Okay, there could have been another man that would have done just as good of a job and been a Republican, and I would have voted for him too. Okay, but Trump said that these people exist. They carry around cans of soup. They dress all in black. Now, we have a reporter that's interviewing a man dressed all in black with a can of soup in his hand at a riot. And he gives like this little subtle wink when he shows his little can of soup. Oh, this is just food for my family. Seriously? Where is, you know what I mean? I want to know where the journalism is. I mean, I'm not a journalist. I don't consider myself a journalist. I never will. For the simple fact that I don't want to be even roped up with the rest of them. You know, it's like one of those things where I just sit back and I'm like, really? This is your job? This is what you do for a living? I actually enjoy the idea of getting my hands dirty and knowing for a fact that my conscience is clean. It makes me feel so much better. But, I mean, that's just a little tidbit of the stupidity and the hypocrisy that's going on with these rides. Okay, here's another point. Minneapolis schools shut down Wednesday through Friday over Derek Chauvin's trial verdict. Okay, let me give you in layman's terms what I think is going to happen here. Okay, first of all, I believe Derek Chauvin, even though the defense has made a decent case, the prosecution's case is falling apart little by little by little. Okay, I do believe that Derek Chauvin is going to be, he's going to be convicted of, I'm thinking, manslaughter. Okay, the reason why, and it's not going to be the idea that there was no reasonable doubt. Because so far from what I've seen and what I've studied, there is a lot of reasonable doubt. The 3 charges they're trying to charge him with is murder 1, 2, and 3. Okay? There's a lot of reasonable doubt. Okay? One of 2 things is going to happen here. Actually, one of 3. Either it's going to be a hung jury, he's going to be convicted of manslaughter, or he's going to be acquitted. Okay? All 3 aspects, city's burned. How is this accepted? How is this allowed? How is this okay? How do we think that, you know, see, this is the leftist mentality. If you're on the left and you're woke, like I say in my name, the culturally woke Republican, okay, the reason why I use that is because it's a play on words, and I really think that it's funny when someone on the left tells me they're woke, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm sure you are. Okay, I'll be woke too. Okay, but first of all, everybody knows that Derek Chauvin, even if Chivin, I might be saying his name wrong, but everybody knows that even if there is reasonable doubt, he's going to be their sacrificial lamb. That's the way it is. That's the way it's going to be. I mean, even the jury, the only way that the jury comes out of this looking halfway decent, if they don't convict him, is if it's a hung jury, which means they don't agree unanimously. I mean, there's like, you know, there's 12 people on the jury, so you figure, say 7 people say convict, the rest of them say no. Okay, that's called a hung jury. It has to be unanimous. If not, I think I may be wrong on that. I think maybe one person can object, but other than that, if it's, you know, the majority, well, then that's the way it is. Okay, but the idea that Minneapolis schools have to shut down because they know there's going to be riots, how is this accepted? And you know what? How about this? I'll bring you right back to the Capitol Hill riots. Okay, you have thousands of people out there listening to President Trump's speech. He's already incited the idea that, we're going to protest, but it's going to be non-violent. We don't want any violence. You know what I mean? That's not our way, which, I mean, if you think about the Republican Party, that is not our way. That's, you know what I mean? That's not how we do it. So, 100 people or something like that, go over to the Capitol building. It was horrible. Probably one of the worst things that I've seen in years. The idea of, them threatening the vice president. They're threatening the Speaker of the House, even though I can't stand those. And Nancy Pelosi, the Wicked Witch of the West. I can still feel for that, where I'm like, no, she shouldn't be threatened with violence. Do I think she should be prosecuted with treason? Yes. But let's put that aside. But I mean, the way the narrative for the mainstream media is going on the idea that this is all okay. Soup cans being thrown at police officers in the middle of riots. But this is food for my kid. I got this can of Campbell's chicken noodle so that way my son could have lunch later. But I'm here at the riot right now, holding on to it just for fun, shits and giggles. Come on. Please, people. Wake up. You don't see these things. You don't notice these things. You don't pay attention to these things. This is common sense. If you don't have it, I'm sorry. I wish you did. If you're listening to this program, more than likely I think that you do. But you never know. And once again, I digress. But Barry Broad was one of the people that actually testified for the defense in the court case. Okay, as of recently, one of the houses that he still owns, he hasn't not lived in this house for quite a few years. But apparently, people on the left, Black Lives Matter, I don't know, Antifa, whatever the hell they are, they got the address. And what they do? They took a pig's head and they put it on the porch. They smeared his house with pig's blood. Is this okay? Because he testified in court on the defense? How is this okay? That's what I keep asking. How is this accepted in American society? It shouldn't be, but it is. At this point, it's accepted because the left, from what I've seen, can do whatever they want and get away with it. But the right, God forbid, we actually went out and protested. Exercise our right. Wow. That would be intense. I mean, there's been boat parades for Trump in Florida where literally the entire channel that they were floating down, you could literally walk boat for boat for boat for boat. How that man got more vote, how Biden got more votes than Barack Obama? I would imagine that remains to be seen. That's the way I think about it. That remains to be seen. I mean, could it be possible? No. Not even in a million years. But I'm not going to say that the election was stolen or anything that's going to get me in trouble on YouTube or anything of that nature. What I am going to say is there were election irregularities. Pennsylvania completely, basically denying their whole entire constitution. I do believe with the new Georgia voter rules on the idea that you need an ID to vote. Happy about that. You need an ID to basically do everything in the country. I mean, you can't even go to Rent-A-Center and get a friggin' TV and bring it home, even if you have good credit, without an ID. Why is it that you can't present an ID to vote? How is this a racism issue? How is this against black voters? I guarantee that I know a bunch of black guys right now, or black women, and they all have IDs. So how is this a problem? But, you have culturally woke, or that's what they call themselves, companies like Coca-Cola and many other billion-dollar corporations and stuff, and they're trying to butt into politics to try and say that, we're just not going to, Delta, we're not going to do business in Georgia because of their voting laws. This is not going to work out good for you. I'm letting you know right now. If you're a corporation and you're doing business, say, in Atlanta, which is a very populated city, okay, and I'm sure that they make plenty of revenue, okay, you're doing business there, and you decide to play politics, okay, and you're going to pull your business or service or whatever it is from Atlanta Major League Baseball did it. You know what I mean? You're going to pull from there because you don't like Georgia's voting laws because you're a woke corporation. This is not going to work out well. This is actually, matter of fact, this is actually going to turn out so bad, it's going to make your head spin. And you're all of a sudden going to become unwoke. And as soon as you start to see your profit shares and your profit margin dropping, that's exactly what's going to happen because you guys, you're all business people. You're all in business to make money. But what you're doing is you're playing both sides of the aisle. The problem with that is the one side of the aisle is the one that actually controls cancel culture. You ever think about that? No, I bet you none of your executives did either when they were making that decision. I leave it to you. But the idea of you trying to play politics being a major corporation that is doing business in that state, I don't think it's going to work out for your wallet. I don't know, that's what I'm saying. So, that being said, you can make the decision, you can do whatever you want. Do you know Major League Baseball actually moved the All-Star game and the draft to Colorado? They moved it from Atlanta to Colorado, which is Denver, Colorado. Here's the problem. Atlanta, like 60 to 70% black. I mean, that's just the way it is. And then you have Colorado, Denver, Colorado, 71% white. Now, how is this a racism move? I don't understand. I don't get it. Once again, I'm confused. I mean, did we forget what racism was or how we define it or something of that nature? Because I tell anybody, if you can show me the legislation, law, or act that there was racism involved, I will stand next to you and fight that. Because I don't believe in racism. But at the same time, I'm also not going to understand your woke, symbolism that you're doing. I'm not. If you're claiming this and there's no information or facts to coincide with that claim, I'm not going to go with it. Sorry. I believe in facts, not feelings. That's the way it works. And that brings me to my number 5 topic. I always tell you guys I do 5 topics. And then, afterwards I give you a little bit of recap. But on the Michael Knowles show, Michael Knowles, I'm a big fan. There happens to be video, and this is quite interesting, a Tinder date of a CNN employee. Okay, basically is being recorded, doesn't know. Okay, it's like an undercover thing apparently. And he basically says how CNN has exaggerated the COVID deaths in the United States for ratings. Now, I'm sure on many of my podcasts I've immediately said, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, BBC, this is all, it's all a narrative. And, or how would I say, for lack of a better word, bullshit. Okay, Fox News, yeah, they might come out, every once in a while, but they're still trying to play with the woke culture too. They're still trying to play like devil's advocate and stuff, where they stay conservative most of the time, and then all of a sudden, every once in a while, they just, do a story where they're just like, oh yeah, let's keep the left happy. I prefer Newsmax. I also prefer Daily Wire, things of that nature. You know what I mean? And I suggest that to you. If you're watching this program, I suggest those news portals due to the fact that they report the facts. They're not really trying to base it on a specific narrative. They want to tell you exactly what's going on and exactly how they perceive it. I believe in that. But the idea that CNN would actually go out of their way to report false false numbers or exaggerate them of COVID deaths to be able to get ratings is basically fear-mongering. What they're trying to do is they're trying to put fear in the United States public so that way they watch CNN more, okay, because they know, or they think, in the back of their minds, that they're going to get the proper numbers. They're going to get the proper information so that way they can keep themselves safe. Okay, first of all, COVID is winding down, okay? If you're vaccinated, there's no reason to wear a mask. There you go. I said it. Ted Cruz, not wearing a mask anymore. He's already gotten 2 shots. He looked at a reporter the other day. He was like, I don't have to wear a mask. I've been vaccinated. He did give her the courtesy and say, well, if you want to step away from me, that's entirely up to you. I have no problem. But at the same time, it's like, I love him. If that man ran for president again, I'd probably vote for him in the primaries, and I don't know. It depends on who he's up against. You know what I mean? To vote for him again. But, it's one of those moments where I got to sit back and go, what are we doing, America? How are we thinking that all of these narratives and all of these beliefs, you know what I mean? It brings me back to, like, lesbian dance theory being taught in, college. I'm still trying to figure stuff out, If you get a liberal arts degree in college and you think that, you know what I mean, like, you got the world by the balls, unless you're going to get a PhD and you're going to go be a professor, it's limited. It's limited. So I'm not really gonna call out people with their degrees or anything of that nature. But what I am gonna say is, pick and choose your battles. Okay. The idea that a CNN employee is immediately admitting to a Tinder date, okay, which just tells you about his personality. A Tinder date. Basically all the ugly, dark secrets of CNN and how they broadcast and how they, pursue their media. That in itself just makes you go, wow. Wow, it's all coming out in the wash, folks. It is. It's all coming out in the wash. And you know what? I can't wait. I can't wait because, as a Republican conservative, I basically, as a commentator with a podcast, I basically just sit and watch, and then I tell you. And that's what I do. But, as I said before, I do this podcast just so everybody wakes up. I want you people to wake up. I want more people to wake up and realize what is happening to our politics, what's happening to our legislation, and what's happening to our culture. But culture is the key word. Culture. At this point, if we don't fight back for our culture, it's going to be gone. It's all going to be gone. All of it. And guess what? You don't recover from that. You don't get a second chance. That's the way it works. So, anyway, folks, on that note, I'll leave it there. My name is Sean Ferrer. I'm the Culturally Woke Republican. And I wish you guys good luck, Godspeed, and I love you. All right? Talk to you on Wednesday. See ya. And one thing I do want to point out, once again, I will make the statement, where are the parents? Or where is the parenting? It's not one of those things where I can sit back and go, okay, I'll just shut up and not say a word. No, I'm not a squishy Republican. I'm a very strong, opinionated, and very factual-based conservative. Okay, that being said, the media narrative on this is racism, of course. If you watch the body cam footage of the police officer that went into the scene, okay, what ends up happening, of course, it's Chicago. They're called to shots fired. They immediately go in gung-ho. I don't blame them for that. You know what I mean? Why wouldn't they? You know what I mean? They don't know. There could be, 3 or 4 assailants out there. Perps. firing guns, and they could die. If you watch the body cam footage, states, or it shows, the 13-year-old runs down an alley. The officer actually pushes one person out of the way as he's running. This is from my own observation. And then runs up on the 13-year-old. Now, the problem here is the idea that, one, the police officer at this point is in a heated situation. He is already anticipating gun violence. He's already anticipating some sort of altercation. Okay, the 13-year-old has the gun still in his hand. He tosses it behind a fence as the police officer tells him, as, weapon drawn, tell him to put his hands up. The problem with that is, when he throws the gun, he throws his hands up right away. Okay, the problem here happens to be with the action. Okay, it's sad. I do feel bad for, the family of the 13-year-old kid. I think Adam probably would have had a great future. If he had gotten away from gang violence, of course. But, it's one of those moments where you gotta, it's come to God moment, where you know what I mean? Did I think the officer reacted completely wrong? Do you realize that it was 0.8 of a second? That's how long from the child throwing the gun and throwing hands up immediately, 0.8 of a second, and the cop took the shot. In this instance, I can't blame the officer. He is automatically thinking to himself, I want to go home to my family. I want to go, I want to survive this night. He is a police officer in Chicago, which is, first of all, has some of the strongest gun control rights in the country, but for some reason has the largest gun violence in the country. Now, think about that for a moment and sit back and go, how's that happen? You know who actually has the least gun violence in the country and has the lowest gun control laws in the country? Maine. Yeah. You wonder why? Because all the good people still have guns. These things don't happen like that. But, you know what I mean? Like I said, I don't want anybody to come back at me and say that I'm racist or anything of that nature. It really could matter to me whether the kid was Asian. It could matter, it really doesn't matter to me. Okay, I'm looking at the facts, and facts don't care about your feelings. I could care less about your opinion. This is the way it is. Okay, so, you know what I mean? All right, let's move on from there, because I have a lot to talk about, and I don't know if I have this much wind. Not only that, but I work 2 jobs, so I do want to specify a joke for a really friendly person that I spoke to on the phone today named Samantha. I don't know her last name because she works for Spectrum, and she's not allowed to tell me. I'm assuming that might be some woke propaganda due to corporations or something like that. But she did tell me about something in New York. She actually is located in Albany, New York. And that's where the governor's mansion is. Governor Cuomo. And it used to say something completely different. I honestly really should have wrote that part down. But it used to say something completely different on this big skyscraper that's in Albany. Okay, and everybody can see it, and she told me that most of the time it's lit up, it's beautiful, this and that. I'm like, wow, that's great, this and that. And now she tells me that they changed the slogan on the side of the building to the New York Touch, and it sits right in front of the governor's mansion. I mean, first of all, I will go on Governor Cuomo's, the accusations against him that he sexually assaults women, he's womanizing or any of that stuff. You know, as far as I'm concerned, all that is par for the course. Okay, what Governor Cuomo should have been brought up in, and believe it or not, the left is fearing this. They're terrified of this. The idea that how many deaths he hid in nursing homes under his care. That's the real story. But the mainstream media, they're not going to report that. I will, but they won't. But it's a really cute joke. It actually made me laugh really good. The idea that, you know, Governor Cuomo is being brought up on all these sexual assault allegations and stuff like that. And, you know, it sits right across the street from him on a big, you know, big building. New York Touch. That to me is funny. I'm sorry. I digress. Anyway, let's go on to our next topic. Our next topic is packing the Supreme Court and how this could actually be a good idea. Okay, first of all, the Supreme Court has always been and still hopefully will be exactly the same body that it has been. The reason why is the simple fact that there's always 5 judges. The 5th can always overturn a decision. Unless, of course, it's unanimous or, you know, something like that. But, Jerry Nadler, okay, came on TV, and he basically, like, came out and he was like, packing the Supreme Court? No! We would never want to do something like that. Even Nancy Pelosi, which, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, she's basically the Wicked Witch of the West. She even said that she objects to packing the Supreme Court. And the reason for this is it's all political. She realizes that that will actually harm her and other Democrats in the midterms. Okay, so that in itself right there just shows her political gain on any aspect that she disagrees with. And it also shows her political gain on any aspect that she agrees with. So, you know, that in itself, I mean, okay, once again, I hate to use the saying several times, but par for the course. Okay, did you know that the Democrats right now are trying to sign a bill that brings Puerto Rico, which I'm half Puerto Rican, and D.C., which was never meant to be a state, they're trying to make those states. Why would you think they're doing that? Because they know for a fact that D.C., Washington, D.C. is basically a blue area. Okay, and so is Puerto Rico. Yep. Puerto Rico is a province of the United States. It is not a state. We take care of them. You know, we help them out when we can. They share our money and things of that nature. But at the same time, they are not part of the 50 states or 50. What are we at? 50, 51, 50. Anyway, they're not part of the United States. Okay, now, what I wonder is, what are the Democrats' plans on packing the court? I want to know, like, what is the, what's the goal? Okay, well, I mean, I'll tell you the goal. I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, it's right in front of your face. The goal is to basically make the court as biased as possible. Okay, to make it, well, first of all the new judges are going to be implemented by Democrat. Okay, they're the ones that are going to try the judges. They're the ones that are going to implement them. So, right there, because you do have quite a few right-wing judges. I mean, Ginsburg, I think Ginsburg was a right-winger, but she was more into feminism and women's rights. And so I'm not going to say feminism is bad, because I'm actually a feminist. I believe that all women should have the same rights as men. And if you can perform